The rain had been falling for hours, the kind that turns highways into silver ribbons and makes even neon signs look tired. And Caleb, Iron Rourke, hadn't slept in nearly 2 days, the exhaustion settling into his bones so deeply that pain and hunger felt like distant ideas rather than real sensations, and he was sitting alone in a cracked vinyl booth at Nora's All-Night Grill, just off Route 19, a place truckers stopped when they didn't want questions, and insomniacs went when home felt too quiet, the clock behind the counter blinking 2:47 a.m. as a coffee pot burned itself dry, when the bell above the door jingled, and a little girl walked in barefoot on the cold linoleum, her dark hair tangled and damp, her hoodie 2 sizes too big, and what stopped Caleb's heart wasn't her age, maybe 9 at most, but the angry red rings around her wrists, raw skin split, and bleeding like she'd fought ropes or cuffs until her strength ran out, her eyes darting around the diner before locking onto him with a kind of desperate certainty that told him she had already decided. She crossed the room without hesitation and stopped at his table, whispering so softly he almost didn't hear it. "Please don't call the police. He'll kill her." And Caleb slowly set his mug down, every instinct he'd learned in 25 years riding with the Black River Saints MC rising to the surface, because this wasn't fear born from imagination. This was fear born from memory. "Kill who, kid?" he asked quietly, keeping his voice steady, and she swallowed hard and pointed through the rain-streaked window. "My sister. She's in his cruiser." And Caleb followed her finger to the parking lot where a state trooper vehicle sat idling in the shadows, with its lights off, and in the back seat, barely visible, was another little girl younger, her small hands pressed against the glass as her mouth formed silent screams, and the girl at the table choked out the rest in broken breaths. "We ran from his house. He caught her first. He said if I tell anyone he'll make her disappear like the others." And that word, others, hit Caleb like a hammer, because monsters always had a count. The bell rang again, and a man in a pressed trooper uniform stepped inside, badge shining, hair neat, wedding band catching the fluorescent light, the kind of officer people trusted without thinking, his eyes flicking from the girl to Caleb and hardening just enough to notice if you knew how to look. "Lily," he said gently. "There you are. You scared me half to death." Extending his hand, and the girl shrank back and clutched Caleb's leather vest, and Caleb stood, his 6'3" frame unfolding as he placed himself between them. "She doesn't seem eager to leave with you, officer." The trooper replied smoothly, introducing himself as Officer Grant Holloway, claiming emergency custody, foster placement, troubled kids, rehearsed words rolling too easily, and Caleb looked down at the girl and asked her real name, and she whispered, "It's May. My sister is Anya. Our last name is Lynn. He took us from the playground. Our parents are looking for us." And Holloway's smile slipped for half a second before his hand drifted toward his holster, and Caleb moved on instinct, gripping the man's wrist before the gun cleared leather, leaning close enough to see the panic bloom behind the badge, telling May to lock herself in the restroom. And when she ran, Caleb dialed a number he never used unless things were past. Saving. And minutes later the growl of engines shook the diner as 6 motorcycles rolled in, men with scars and patches filling the doorway, their presence changing the air. And when they saw the patrol car and the terrified child inside, every joke died. Caleb called a state investigator he trusted, a woman named Detective Alana Ruiz, and when she arrived with backup, the lies unraveled fast. No paperwork, no IDs, the girls' names matching an active missing persons report, and the moment Ruiz ordered the cruiser opened, Anya bolted into May's arms, both girls sobbing so hard they shook, and Holloway's confidence crumbled as cuffs snapped shut. But the story didn't end there, because May spoke again, voice small but steady, telling them about a locked cellar, pictures of other girls, promises of what happened if they disobeyed. And Ruiz's face turned grim as she secured a warrant, and before dawn, they were at Holloway's neat little house on a quiet street, the kind neighbors waved at, breaching a reinforced basement door to find rooms with chains, drawings taped to concrete, and behind a false wall, 3 girls alive but broken, names that matched long cold cases, and in a shoebox in the bedroom closet, photographs marked with dates and a single word, "Finished." And the weight of it pressed down on everyone there, because evil had worn a uniform and smiled for years, the aftermath stretching into morning as parents were called, reunions breaking hearts open in parking lots. And Caleb stood back, letting the girls cling to their families, feeling something loosen in his chest he hadn't known was tight. Months later, a community center opened in a building the Saints had helped rebuild, a place for kids to learn, to feel safe, to trust their instincts. And May, hair braided and eyes bright again, handed Caleb a crayon drawing of a biker standing between children in darkness. The words, "Heroes don't always look safe," scrawled across the top, and as he pinned it up, beside his old road maps, his phone rang with another desperate parent on the line, another child missing, another wrong feeling ignored, and Caleb grabbed his keys as his brothers mounted up without a word, engines roaring into the dawn, because he'd spent most of his life being someone people crossed the street to avoid, and now he was the one they called when the system failed. The rain starting again as the bikes disappeared down the road, carrying a promise that somewhere, somehow, the darkness would be met by men who refused to look away. Because sometimes justice doesn't arrive with sirens and speeches. Sometimes it comes on two wheels, wearing leather, answering a whisper that says, "Please help before it's too late."